Hi, I want to tell you a story about the formidable female military force in Africa, renowned for its intimidation to the extent that these lakeside tribes opted to relocate above water, fearing capture by these women warriors. What prompted such fears that forced these tribes to construct an entire village above water? This formidable female army originated from the Dahomey tribe, a contemporary group we now identify as Benin. The creation of this women army came from a long-standing conflict between the Dahomey tribe and their sworn enemy, the Oyo tribe, who was situated in Nigeria. While the Dahomey and Oyo were continuously engaged in warfare, the story behind the women army delves deeper into complexities. It begins in 1716, during the reign of Queen Hagbe in the Dahomey kingdom. While it was not uncommon for women to govern kingdoms in the African history, Queen Hagbe's biggest accomplishment lays in the establishment of the Mino, a formidable corps comprising of female warriors. Their prowess was such that they constituted the personal guard of the king. Queen Hagbe led the kingdom from 1716 to 1718, and that was only for 2 years. Subsequently, her younger brother, King Agaja, assumed leadership from 1718 to 1740. King Agaja proved to be a very skillful ruler, overseeing the expansion of the Dahomey kingdom, particularly the Mino. However, his primary objective was to put an end to the long-standing rivalry with the kingdom of Oyo, his sworn enemy, and also to grow his own realm. The Oyo kingdom surpassed Dahomey in size, and so the Dahomey found themselves compelled to pay tribute in form of slaves to the Oyo kingdom. Displeased with this agreement, King Agaja resolved to break free by waging war against the Oyo kingdom. To strengthen his forces, Agaja assembled a formidable army, leaving behind the female guards formed by his sister, Queen Hagbe. Unfortunately, Agaja's initial attempt at war resulted in a devastating defeat, pushing him to the brink of extinction, or rather pushing his army to the brink of extinction. In response, he reorganized his strategy, forming a distinct unit comprising of skilled women from his palatial guards. These skilled women warriors were the ones his queen sister, Queen Hagbe, had started, and he went ahead and appointed them as officers to lead each company. This unconventional force, known as the Mino, joined the military to safeguard their children from the Oyo Empire. The introduction of this unique female contingent made the military appear larger, which intimidated the Oyo Empire, prompting them to withdraw instead of facing the newly reinforced Dahomey military. This marked an early appearance of what made the Europeans to later call these female warriors as the Dahomey Amazons. To facilitate further growth and expansion, King Agaja ultimately engaged in the slave trades with the Germans, exchanging slaves for firearms to further grow his army. Following this, King Agaja employed his corps of female warriors to expand his conquests into additional territories. In order to sustain military prowess, they engaged in trade slaves with the Germans, a practice that endured for over a century. The Agaja was another name for the female army. They numbered over 6,000 at their peak, comprising approximately 1/3 of the entire Dahomey army. It was recounted that the Agaja not only safeguarded the palace, but were also referred as the royal wives of King Agaja. Its residence was protected by 40 women armed with muskets and machetes each. This tradition extended to Agaja's successors, who similarly maintained women soldiers and palatial guards. Reportedly, King Agaja himself was surrounded by 2,000 to 3,000 wives who served as his exclusive protectors, accompanying him everywhere he went. Dahomey can be linked to the Zulus of South Africa, as their leaders ascended to authority through military prowess and triumph in warfare. In 1818, Gezo ascended to the throne of the Dahomey by outsitting his brother, King Agaja, aided by the Portuguese slave trader Felix de Souza. Following his succession, Gezo significantly improved the Dahomey military, notably by expanding the number of female warriors from 2 to 6 regiments, potentially comprising of up to 6,000 female warriors. Recruitment of women commenced at an early age. Girls were being drawn from their king's wives, prisoners, or involuntary if family members objected a girl's behavior. Referred to as the Mino, meaning our mothers in Dahomey, these young female recruits underwent rigorous training, including storming acacia thorn defenses to enhance pain tolerance. The Mino provided women with opportunities for leadership and influence, attracting individuals of wealth and high social standing. Initially, many of the Agaja warriors were sourced from slave raids and were subsequently trained for military service. During the 1800s, a notable transformation occurred, leading to the majority of soldiers being born in Dahomey. This shift resulted in an army comprised mainly of chiefs' daughters and affluent individuals who held sway in the military. These women adopted a notably muscular demeanor to the extent that they were perceived as males than females. Marriage was forbidden for them, and they were expected to commit to life without marital ties. Moreover, they wielded political influence and occupied significant positions in the Grand Council, affording them opportunity to engage in policy discussions. When venturing outside the palace, they were preceded by a slave carrying a bell, signaling men on their path to step aside and look away. Despite their formidable presence, these women were not immune to defeat and encountered setbacks on several occasions. Nevertheless, the sworn enemy of the Agaja, the Oyo kingdom, formed an alliance with another kingdom known as the Abekuta, leading to a war against the Dahomey. These conflicts resulted in a significant loss for the Agaja forces, with reports indicating that as many as 2,500 women soldiers perished. Following one particular battle, the Dahomey warriors were reportedly left speechless by the extent of their losses, particularly among the female soldiers. Subsequent attacks in 1864, orchestrated by the two allied kingdoms, inflicted additional casualties on the Agaja, or as the Europeans liked to call them, the Amazonians. By 1870, the estimated population had dwindled from 6,000 to only 2,000. In 1882, the French expedition landed in Porto Novo with an exceeding force of 2,000 soldiers. This united the three kingdoms against a common enemy who was now France. Faced with this threat, King Behizin found himself compelled to acquire additional firearms from the Germans, resulting in an increased demand for slaves. The Dahomey people's economy and military had long been reliant on selling slaves, mainly to the Germans, for firearms. Positioned in the coastal regions, the Dahomey held substantial numbers of slaves awaiting European sailors. Occasionally, delays by the sailors led to shortages of food supplies for the slaves. To address this predicament, the king implemented a strategy of sacrificing numerous slaves to prevent them from starving. This surge in slave trade contributed to the kingdom of Dahomey's considerable power, because the more slaves they had, the more the firearms. So when the French came, they were ready. The movement of the 2,000 French soldiers towards the Dahomey kingdom marked a significant event. Despite the strength gained by the Dahomey kingdom through the acquisition of firearms from the Germans, a pivotal encounter occurred in February 1890 when the French and Dahomey forces clashed on the battlefield. The French faced initial defeats, leading them to being imposed an annual fee in Porto Novo by the Dahomey kingdom. However, the dynamics shifted past the Berlin Conference as the Germans, who were previously selling weapons to the Dahomeys, allied with the French. This collaboration enabled France to assert control over large portions of West Africa, including the Dahomey kingdom, which is today known as the modern-day Benin. With the Dahomey losing their source of weaponry, the French perceived an opportunity for a decisive conflict. In 1894, the French army marched towards the Dahomey, engaging in a fierce battle. Amidst the intensity, a young Amazonian beheaded the French chief gunner, showcasing the ferocity of the combat. Another Amazonian, seemingly disarmed, surprised her captor by fatally biting him on the throat. Despite these bold actions, the French firepower ultimately repelled their attack, resulting in their victory. Fearing for his safety, the king of the Dahomey sought a meeting with the French president in hope of negotiating an agreement to safeguard his people from complete French dominance. Unfortunately, his trust was betrayed by his brother, leading to the capture of the king by the French forces. Anyway, so what do you think about the story? Because as for me, I found it quite interesting that Africa once had female warriors. Anyway, my name is Kigs, and thank you for watching. Please, don't hesitate to click the subscribe button for more. Thanks. Peace.